Yo, what is up guys? It's me, Zach Lee. Hope you're all having a great day, but we got 10 games of NBA action that we need to go over today, so let's just get right into it. There must have been a deeper reason for the Rockets deciding to waive Carmelo Anthony, because even though he's not playing for them anymore, the Rockets are still struggling, so nothing has changed as Houston just lost their 4th game in a row last night, this time via a blowout to the Dallas Mavericks 128-108. And that is regardless of James Harden notching his first triple-double of the season with 28 points, 17 assists, and 11 rebounds, as well as 6 steals. And just think about this, the Dallas Mavericks, who were nowhere near close to making the playoffs last year, even have a better rocket than the team that took Golden State the distance in the Western Conference Finals. And look, I said this the last time the Rockets played too, that first off, Chris Paul being absent these last 3 games isn't an excuse. And if you're saying that your team has no shot of winning without CP3, then you're just out of luck anyways, because he has always been pretty injury prone. Then on top of that, you have James Harden going out there every night having these ridiculous stat sheet stuffing games, but you're still not winning. And you lost to 3 teams who honestly you have no business losing to. And what I think makes this even worse is that the Rockets are using the quote, "we added a lot of new players" excuse for as to why they've been underperforming thus far, as James Harden had this to say after the game. "We went through a tough stretch and then we regrouped and won 5 in a row. So we gotta figure it out. We've got a lot of new guys and it's only 20 games into the season, so we've got 60 more to go." It's only 20 games into the season, he says. But here's the thing. It's not like Houston is going through some major adjustment period because they just added a big name free agent. They're not trying to get LeBron James, Jimmy Butler, Paul George, anyone like that acclimated to their system. It shouldn't take 20 games to incorporate James Ennis into this Houston Rockets offense. So the whole "we added a lot of new players" excuse is just a flat out terrible excuse for why they've been underperforming. Next up though, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers taking on the OKC Thunder, and the outcome was pretty much what you would expect, as the Thunder were able to defeat the Cavs with ease, 100-83. Russell Westbrook with a triple-double of 23 points, 19 rebounds, and 15 assists. And with this triple-double, Russ tied Jason Kidd for the 3rd most triple-doubles in NBA history. And by the way, this Thunder team, they're looking really good this year. That is, whenever Russ isn't jacking up 12 threes in a game. As we all know, Oklahoma City got out to that terrible 0-4 start, but since then, they've had a 13-3 record. That being said, there are times in which I would like the ball to be in Paul George's hand just a bit more, because when Westbrook was out for the 2nd time this year with another injury, Paul George was low-key beasting. He was shooting the ball really well, rebounding well, and also making plays for others too. So I'd really like to see him get the ball more. Overall, the Thunder are looking great, and this is still without Andre Roberson too. And I said it over the summer that I knew as soon as OKC traded Carmelo Anthony away that they become a much better team, because it legit made 0 sense how last year the Thunder added Paul George and yet they didn't even get better compared to the year where it was, quote, just Russell Westbrook. It made no sense, so it only makes sense for Carmelo Anthony to be the problem. And it turns out that he might have been the problem for OKC, even though he might not have been the problem for Houston, because like I said, Houston is still struggling. And yeah, hopefully this is the year where we will finally be able to see an OKC versus Golden State matchup in the playoffs. In all of my life, I have never been able to witness a Spurs team that looks like it's not going to make the playoffs. And I'm sure the same thing can be said for just about every NBA fan under the age of maybe even 30, which is crazy to think. That just shows how impressive their run was. But after the Spurs got blown out by the Minnesota Timberwolves 128-89, they are once again the 500 mark on the year with a 10-11 record. And we all know that in the Western Conference, you're gonna need at least 46, 47, or even 48 wins to make it into the playoffs. And with the injuries to a couple of key players that San Antonio suffered earlier in the season, I don't know if they will be able to get that many wins as things stand. Do you guys know that this is the first time in a very long time that Jimmy Butler hasn't had to carry a team just to barely make it into the playoffs in the end? He did that with the Chicago Bulls for a couple of years, and of course he did it with the Wolves last year as well. But now that he's on the Sixers, he's finally on a team that was going to make the playoffs with or without him on it, and a team where he doesn't have to put up big performances just to get a win, as the Sixers routed New York last night 117-91 in a game where Jimmy Butler only scored 7 points. And that is mainly because of Joel Embiid, who, let's be real here, has been unreal so far this season. There hasn't been anything that anyone on any team has been able to do to stop him. And if he can keep this up, I don't know if he'll win, but at the very least, he will be right up there in the MVP standings, which was his goal coming into the season in the first place. Embiid had 26 points, 14 rebounds, and 7 assists in this one. And the main reason that I don't feel comfortable picking a favorite to win MVP right now is because of Giannis Antetokounmpo. You look at Joel Embiid and you want to think that he could be the favorite to win the MVP award this season, but then you look over at Giannis and it's like, I don't know. Both of the players are on teams who will finish within the top 3 or 4 in the Eastern Conference, and both of them are the best players on their respective teams. But for some reason, I think that if the award had to go to one of the two of them this year, it would be Giannis, since I think he might just be a hair better than Joel Embiid is right now. And Giannis was great again last night with 36 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists in the Bucks' 116-113 win over Chicago. Also, Chris Middleton only attempted 1 shot in the fourth quarter, and it was a shot that got the Milwaukee the win as he drained a 3 with just 5 seconds remaining. However, with all of that being said, all due respect to both Giannis and Embiid, but if AD and the Pelicans were in the Eastern Conference, I think they might have been able to put up a fight for a top 4 seed. And if that was the case, then you could just hand AD the MVP award right now. Not to mention, if MVP really meant the most valuable player to a team, it would still have to be Anthony Davis, as the New Orleans Pelicans literally cannot win without him, and him missing a handful of games so far this season is the reason why their record isn't so great right now, as even though the Pelicans were able to easily beat the Wizards last night 125-104, they are still just 11-11 on the year. And the Pelicans are a strange team to me, because when one guy plays well, mainly Anthony Davis, it seems like every guy plays well. For example, AD had a good game yesterday. Because of that, Jrue Holiday also had a good game. Same with Julius Randle, and Nikola Mirotic mostly has good games too. And that is most likely because defenses have to pay so much attention to AD that it makes things a heck of a lot easier on the other players. So if it were up to me, AD would be the MVP. I just don't know if New Orleans will have a good enough record to be anything more than the 7th or 8th seed out west. And I know they made an exception for Russell Westbrook a couple of years ago when the Thunder were the 6th seed and he won MVP, but they're not going to do the same thing for Anthony Davis. Now that the Clippers no longer have Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, or DeAndre Jordan, watch this be the year that they somehow make it to the conference finals for the first time in franchise history, as LA remains to be the best team in the Western Conference after getting the expected 115-99 win over the Suns. And even though I want to see Kawhi stay in Toronto, if he did go to the Clippers like he's rumored to have interest in, that could spell bad news for the rest of the Western Conference, as I think if you put Kawhi Leonard on this Clippers team right now, we'd have to start looking at them as a team that could possibly give the Warriors some serious problems in a 7-game series. This team is playing some fantastic basketball. Damian Lillard just set the Portland Trailblazers franchise record for most threes in a single game with 10. As in the Blazers' 115-112 win over the Magic last night, Lillard went 10 of 15 from 3 for 41 points, and after the game, he said that he didn't even realize that he had made 10 threes. And if he would have known that, then he would have beaten Klay Thompson's record. I didn't know I had made 10. If I would have known that, I would have went for it. What is it, 14? Oh, I could have gotten that too. I do have to say that I have a feeling that Klay Thompson's record of 14 threes in a game that he just set a few weeks ago won't be staying around past this season. Like, I'd be really surprised if Stephen Curry in particular doesn't hit at least 15 threes at some point once he comes back. Donovan Mitchell returned for the Jazz last night after he missed the last 2 games, and he came back strong, scoring 29 points in Utah's 101-91 win over the Nets. But even though Mitchell was the highest scorer in this game, Rudy Gobert was still the best all-around player, as he tallied 23 points, 16 rebounds, and 4 blocks. And lastly for the day, the Charlotte Hornets were able to beat the Atlanta Hawks just like they should have been able to, 108-94. Kemba Walker with 19, while Jeremy Lamb had 22. And that is going to bring us to the player of the day, where you guys have the opportunity to vote for who you think was the best player in the league last night by clicking the little eye icon in the top right hand corner of the video. Just remember though, the only players whose team won are eligible eligible to win Player of the Day. And yesterday, you guys selected Blake Griffin as the Player of the Day with his 30 points and 5 assists. That is going to do it for everything that we got to talk about in today's video though. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, then go ahead and smack that like button, as well as consider subscribing to the channel so you can stay up to date with everything that goes on in the NBA on a daily basis. Thank you once again for watching though. You guys already know that you are the real MVPs, and until tomorrow, I am out of here.